what's up, guys? Welcome back to Between the Pylons. I'm John Camacho, and this is the Tennessee Titans draft breakdown. We will be talking about the 2021 Tennessee Titans draft class. I'll be talking about the players they drafted in their first 3 rounds at length. We're going to give you my grades, my best and worst move at the end of the video. But before that, let's get into it with their entire draft class here. We'll take a look at that. And while we're doing that, if you don't mind hitting that like button, subscribing to the channel if you enjoy this kind of content, would be very much appreciated. But here we go, guys. Obviously, they really addressed that cornerback position with grabbing a Caleb Farley, who I thought, was arguably the best corner in the class if you don't account for injury. You grab an Elijah Molden, who was the nickel corner for Washington, but I think is going to be a safety from everything that I've seen. They're probably going to move him to the in the box safety position there. You grab another safety in the 6th round just to add some additional depth. So you can tell DB was a very big need for them coming into this draft class. They addressed wide receiver late with a guy out of LSU, Des Fitzpatrick out of Louisville. So just some good depth pieces there, I think, as well for the wide receiver. You got to remember they did lose a Corey Davis. Didn't really grab anybody in free agency to really replace that loss. So you got to go in the draft. You got to get some pieces there. You got to hope that somebody steps up internally and you get some depth pieces there. Hopefully, maybe you got a stud there in the 4th round. You never know. But moving on, they did get a Dylan Radnas, who, he's going to probably be replacing what Isaiah Wilson was supposed to be. They did move on from Dennis Kelly in the offseason, who was their starting tackle last year. Isaiah Wilson, I believe, got 4 snaps this past offseason, and he was a former first-round pick that they already moved on from. So Dylan Radnas has some, there's definitely a place there for him to be starting right away, and hopefully he can do that. Obviously, a small school guy, but he did run some NFL-style blocking concepts and things like that definitely give you some upside and some hope that he can go in and really start from day one, because that is going to be the ultimate goal for the Titans there, for him to start from day one. And then just moving on through the rest of this class, we'll talk about Monty Rice in a little bit later. We already touched on Elijah Molden in the 3rd round, who we'll talk about again a little bit later. Overall, also a Rashawn Weaver, that looks like it might already be a bust as well. There's some things that came out about some domestic violence issues there. I'm not sure how that's going to play out, but a 4th round pick there that might not be getting any usage as well. Hey, listen, the Titans, they're risky, man. Robinson is not risk averse. You look at him, he took a Jeffrey Simmons a couple of years ago who had some injury concerns, but who really was arguably one of the better defensive tackles in that class. He's a stud. He's a standout. They took a Caleb Farley who has some injury concerns, has a back issue that we don't know about. Everything that I've seen is that it's positive, but we don't know. You never know. So that's a question mark. Obviously, in Isaiah Wilson last year, who I don't know how much they knew about the off-field concerns, but certainly ended up being more real than I assume anybody could have ever assumed. He just, wasn't mature enough to really make it in the NFL, and he's already out. He was traded to the Dolphins, cut 2 days later, and I don't think he got another chance. So hey, that's how it goes when you are taking chances in the draft. You're going to have some hits and you're going to have some misses there. So let's get started. Let's talk about Caleb Farley in the 1st round. I already hit on it. Listen, I consider him a premium athlete. I consider him an elite athlete at the cornerback position. He's a true man-to-man shutdown corner type of guy, has a big frame, uses his hands very well. He does obviously have some injury concerns, and he is still ultimately a little raw as a prospect, but I don't consider that bad. I really don't. I think he has some room to grow, and he was already, shadowing wide receivers and the college level, and I think he's only going to get better in the NFL. The only question is the back. That's the only reason he was there in the 20s. He would have been drafted alongside a J.C. Horn and a Patrick Surtain in that range if there weren't some injury concerns. I honestly really believe that the Cowboys would have probably taken him at 10 if there weren't injury concerns, or maybe he would have gone even earlier. Maybe he would have been valued over one of the top 2 corners that went in this draft. He is a damn good player. I think they got an absolute steal, and if you don't have the injury issues, I think you got your cornerback 1. You kind of missed on Adoree Jackson a couple of years ago, who got, I believe, 20th overall, 19th overall, somewhere in that ballpark. Now I think you got a guy who is a far better prospect than Adoree Jackson was when he was coming out, and I really believe he can go in and really replace an Adoree Jackson from day one. And really, I think that's what the Titans are expecting. They're expecting him to come in and be cornerback one from day one. Adoree Jackson's gone. Malcolm Butler is gone. Kenny Vaccaro is gone. All of those guys, they moved on from. The Titans were clearly not happy with the defensive backfield from the 2020 season. Now, granted, I think part of that is money. They were probably spending more money on those guys than they probably wanted to. That's certainly an aspect of the conversation. But man, I don't know if there's any other way to say it. They went in and they considered it a priority to move on from some of these guys in that defensive backfield. But let's move on to the second round, where they grab a Dylan Radnez out of NDSU. This was at the tail end of a big clump of offensive linemen that did go in this draft. This is a guy I did think had an outside chance of going first round. Obviously, really didn't get close to there, especially considered all the other teams that took an offensive tackle ahead of him. But you look at this guy, he has good power from his core, good technique with his hands. I think he is better versus the run than the pass, which you could consider a negative, but really you look at the team he's going to. He's going to a Titans who are going to be run heavy. This player fits perfectly into this scheme that they are going to go into. I really believe that. And I do think he has a little bit poor recovery. That's again probably a product of just average pass sets at the best. He's far more comfortable in that run blocking scheme. He did it a lot at NDSU, and I think he's going to do it a lot at Tennessee. So yeah, really good pick. Fits the type of team the Titans want to be. Really just a good combination of player strengths and team needs. Really good player there. Really good fit there for the Titans. Moving on to the third round, they did have 2 picks in the third round. They did actually move back with their first pick with the Packers, got an extra 4th round pick, which I thought was just awesome draft value, to move back 7 picks and get an extra 4th rounder, especially 7 picks in the 3rd round, in the mid to late 3rd round. Awesome draft value to grab an extra 4th rounder. They ended up spending on Rashawn Weaver, who might be a bust, but hey, still really good player. And I only say bust because he has some legal issues. That's the only reason I say that. But with their first 3rd round pick, they did get a Monty Rice linebacker out of Georgia. This is a hard-hitting guy who I thought played really well in the trash. That's honestly one of my favorite things about linebackers in general, is just can you maneuver in the trash? Can you get off of blocks really well? Do you have a nose for the ball? Things like that. I really like that. I think is his top end play speed very good? No. Now I did some research pre-draft of this video. His 40 time was good. I think he did like a 4.6 or something like that. Something really good for a linebacker. A lot faster than I thought he played. Now the whole pro day thing makes me think, okay, I don't believe that one. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think he has elite play speed. He's a guy who did he covered running backs out of the backfield, but he wasn't really covering wide receivers a whole lot. So I think there's certainly some limitations to his game. There are, but I think overall you're getting a guy who has the ability to play early and often versus the run, and I think he does have a nose for the football and things like that. Overall, I could see people saying it's a reach just because he does have some limitations, but overall I think you got a guy who's again going to fit that scheme pretty well, going to play in the trash, which is probably my favorite thing about a linebacker, as I've mentioned a handful of times already. I think I like that aspect of his game really well. So I think he is very good at block shedding and just he has a nose for the football. So I like stuff like that. I think he's going to be a really good player in the NFL. If not, maybe a specific style and only in on certain defensive fronts and situations specifically, but overall still think he'll be very well utilized there for the Titans. Moving on to their other 3rd round pick, Elijah Molden. This is a guy who I think he's a great tackler, amazing tackler, has really good instincts. He played nickel corner for Washington, but I don't know that he's gonna really fit in just as a pure cover corner because his hips aren't good. I think that's one of the biggest issues. You see a guy who is stiff. He's fast, he's explosive, but he's overall stiff. And I think NFL wide receivers they're going to leave him in the dust when they get on the break and things like that. I think that would be my major issue with him being a cover corner. I think the reason he's drafted in this range is because he's going to be a safety, and honestly, in doing my research for this video, he is being listed as a safety already. So I think that transition has already happened. Like that conversation must have already happened early on. So yeah, I think they got a safety. I think this is, you know, your replacement to a Kenny Vaccaro. You still have a Kevin Byard. I think, you know, I think they grabbed a Fulton last year out of LSU. I think he's probably going to fit into that maybe nickel corner position. I think that's his most logical spot on that defense. So he will be the nickel corner. You got your safety here. Really just revamped this backfield, and I think Molden's going to be a really good player. I really do. I think this is a guy that they got kind of a steal for like his skill set. He's going to be that in the box corner that can do a lot of things, can handle speed, can handle size, I think, as well. Really good player, and I love him in this range at the end of the third round. Really good pick there. But moving on to my final thoughts, and I'm going to give you my best and worst move first, and we'll talk about my grades. My best move is taking a Caleb Farley in the first round. I know this was a Titans pick. It made a whole lot of sense that the Titans would be, you know, okay with the risk to go for a high upside guy in a Caleb Farley, but I love it. I really do. I think the world of him. He really was my cornerback one, regardless of, obviously, injury was a huge concern, and I understand why he fell to this range, but he was the best corner in this class in my personal opinion. So I love this pick. I think it was a great pick by them. And then my worst move, and this is only a draft value move. This has nothing to do with players. So take the name out of it for a second, but trading up for a Des Fitzpatrick, wide receiver, they traded up for in the fourth round, and I'm just going to put the trade on the board for you, and I'm going to explain why. They traded 3 picks for 1. And to me, that is never a good deal. You don't trade 3 picks for 1. The Panthers, you know, they fleeced him a little bit. And you know, I get it. The 7th round pick isn't a whole lot. But to me, in this range, you're in a day 3 range. You're trading 3 players for 1 player in day 3 range. Yeah, that's not good value. In day 3, even 4th round pick, 109, like you're kind of maybe on the tail end of some premium guys, maybe. And I understand the Titans certainly thought so. They wanted to trade up and go get their guy. I get it. I do. I look at that as it's not comparable for me. I can't, in the 3rd round, you do not trade 3 players for 1 player when at this point in the draft, it's essentially lottery picks. You're essentially just, you know, taking swings of the bat, you know, maybe you have a bigger bat in the 4th round than you do in the 5th, but I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. So yeah, that's just a draft value thing. I'm a draft nerd, so I get into value and things like that, maybe more than I should. So, you know, if you're a huge fan of Des Fitzpatrick and you think I'm shitting on him, I'm not. It's just the trade, and if you're sitting at home, you think he's an awesome player and it was worth the trade. Hey, great. I didn't watch Des Fitzpatrick. I watched him a little, but I didn't like have a full breakdown of a Des Fitzpatrick, so I don't have like deep dive info on him or a really strong take one way or the other. So that has nothing to do with the player. Just draft value. Moving on to my grades, my players, I break it down into three categories. First of all, players, draft value, and needs. So for players, I am giving it an A-. I really like the players they got. You know, I'm a big fan. Honestly, man, just sitting here, there's really no reason it should be a minus. I'm giving it an A. I'm changing it on the fly here. I think it's an A. I love all the guys I got. I love Dylan Radness in the fit for the Titans. I love Caleb Farley. I like Monty Rice. I think more than at least the people that I saw that, you know, I did a little bit of research for this video and was reading scouting reports and things like that. I think I like him more than some of the people writing those scouting reports. I do. I'll be honest. I love Elijah Molden, especially where you got him in the 3rd round. And then your day 3 guys, listen, I when they were drafting Rashawn Weaver without knowing what was going to happen with some of these allegations that are coming out, and I don't know anything about it legally, but I did like the player. I think it was a good value for him in the 4th round. We'll see what happens if he's able to play or not. I don't know. We'll see. So overall, yeah, A. I really like this draft. Draft value, I'm giving it a B+. I talked about the one trade that I didn't like. Other than that, I thought they played the board really well. I thought they got guys in the right spot and understood value for the most part as far as drafting players. I didn't like that one trade. That's the only issue, and that's the only reason it's not an A. And then needs, yeah, I think they covered their needs. They needed to attack the DBs, and really they took a risk coming into this draft. I mean, sitting there at 22. You know, coming into this draft, moving on from 3 starting DBs on your defense and really not addressing the position to the point I would have liked in the offseason at all. Now you go into the draft, hey, you grab a Caleb Farley, really like him. Grab an Elijah Molden, really like him. They both need to start. They need to play, or this Titans defensive backfield is going to be hurting, okay? And I think they're going to play at a high level. I really do. But you need some help from some of your younger guys. You need Fulton to step up. Your corner out of LSU that you got in the second or third round last year. You need these rookies to step up. You really do, because you moved on from some maybe high priced, but I mean, proven commodities at the very least. You know, I wasn't the biggest fan of all their guys, but I certainly. There's a lot of room to say that they took a step down, and there's going to be a lot of critics that are going to say they certainly took a step down. I don't know yet. I really like some of the younger players they got. We'll see what happens there. But overall, just in needs in general, I think they hit their needs. Grabbing wide receiver late to replace a Corey Davis, grabbing an offensive lineman to replace an Isaiah Wilson, or you know, a Dennis Kelly, you know, who moved on. All those guys, they did a really good job. They hit all their needs, so I'm giving that an A as well. But all right, guys, that's all I have on the Tennessee Titans. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this draft. Where do you think I was wrong in my assessment? Where do you think of the Titans in the future? Do you think they're taking a step back? That's kind of that's the feeling. That's the feeling from at least the people that I talk to, the people I know, that, hey, that maybe their window is closed. Maybe they're going to kind of take a step back here because they lost some pieces on the defense and you know, lost to Corey Davis and things like that. Do you disagree with that? Do you think they're really primed and ready to go to compete in that division, compete for championships and all those things? Hey, let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Please, if you did enjoy this video, hit that like button. It really helps out the algorithm. If you enjoy this content, think you enjoy more, hey, hit that subscribe button. I'll be putting out a ton of football content, draft, all of those other things. I have a lot of stuff planned for the off season, so I'm really excited. Follow the journey with me, guys. We'll see you next time. Peace.